Thanks for joining us for your 5 News Plus Weekend Wrap. I'm Daren Bobb. We're going to start today with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, considering the proposed Franklin County jail site as its new immigration detention center. So says the Franklin County Sheriff. He tells 5 News reporter Claire Everbach he had no warning federal law enforcement was even eyeing this property.
I'm just north of Charleston at the proposed site for the Franklin County Prison. Today I sat down with Sheriff Johnny Crocker, who told me that his chief deputy saw 3 ICE agents along with the senior advisor to Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders here last week when they were patrolling the area. Sheriff Crocker says Chief Deputy John Little spoke to the 3 ICE agents who said they were looking at the site for a potential detention facility. Crocker says Joe Porfiry, senior consultant to the governor, was also there but did not want to talk. According to Crocker, the agents told his deputy they were looking at the site as a location that could be built quickly. He says the sheriff's office had no knowledge of the agents' visit. This comes as many in the community have expressed they don't want any kind of prison built.
And I think the government should be transparent to people of the state of Arkansas and vice versa the federal government. When you come in here and sneakily buy land and try to force a prison on a county that did not want it, when there's 3 or 4 other counties that wanted a state prison put there, an 800-bed facility, there's counties that wanted that. Franklin County did not want that. We still do not want that.
At 6, we'll hear more about what the sheriff learned from that conversation and the response from the governor's office. In Charleston, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
An Arkansas State Legislative Committee discussed the latest report and new findings into the escape of Grant Hardin. State police released a 900-page report on the investigation this week. Investigators said a staff meeting was held prior to the escape to reverse the North Central Unit's policy of letting inmates on the back dock unsupervised. They say, though, 3 supervisors who attended the meeting indicated the police change was not relayed to them. ASP's Mike McNeil says there is confusion about whether the verbal directive was properly said to the kitchen supervisors.
But the investigation shows that the verbal directive, if it was given approximately a month prior to the escape. And there was no action taken by the administration to formally change the policy regarding inmate supervision on the back dock. So
Food Prep Supervisor Justin Del Val and Corporal William Walker were fired after reportedly violating policy which led to Hardin's escape. Fort Smith police say they've made an arrest related to a bomb threat reported last week at Northside High School. The suspect in the case is a juvenile and faces charges including threatening to commit an act of violence at a school. Police say no further information about the suspect is being released because the suspect is a minor. 2 people facing murder charges in connection with an 11-year-old case out of Delaware County, Oklahoma. The OSBI says a tip back in July led to the charges against James Larson Jr. and Penny Larson. In March of 2014, Dustin Carver was reported missing and last seen with James and another man. That man told investigators then that James accused the victim of raping Penny. An affidavit also says they told investigators he saw Penny cleaning up blood on the floor. Court documents show James was already in a Missouri jail on unrelated charges, told his cellmate about killing a man in Oklahoma and burning his body. The breakthrough in the case led to both being charged with first-degree murder. Happening now, Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin is in the center of new ethics complaints filed this week. ArcLeg Bill Tracker alleges Griffin and other top lawmakers, including Secretary of State Cole Jester and Lieutenant Governor Leslie Rutledge, misused campaign funds that influenced legislation for personal gain. State Rep David Ray is accused of taking $130,000 from Griffin while sponsoring bills benefiting the AG's office. ArcLeg says it has provided the Ethics Commission with evidence and is calling for a full investigation. Meanwhile, State Attorney General Griffin expanding efforts to combat the growing fentanyl crisis with a new partnership announced at UA Pine Bluff. At a campus event, Griffin announced that UAPB is the 3rd university in the state now to join the One Pill Can Kill initiative. The program uses opioid settlement money to raise awareness about the dangers of counterfeit pills that may contain deadly amounts of fentanyl. Griffin talked about the dangers behind the pill and the potential consequences from even trying one pill.
But you're at a great school. You got a great life ahead of you. And you don't benefit from any of this stuff. And it could take your life.
Students got hands-on training to recognize overdose symptoms, administer naloxone, and use test strips to detect fentanyl in pills and drinks. Storms came through the area Tuesday that brought a lot of flooding and caused a lot of damage in a lot of parts, including Sallisaw. 5 News reporter Bo Russell checked on conditions Wednesday and tells us crews have been making repairs.
This is Cherokee Street, the main thoroughfare that runs through Sallisaw. I've seen ground crews working here all day, working minute by minute to get their community back up to speed.
When I got here, I was met by an unusual amount of traffic for Sallisaw. That's because many of the streetlights running through town are still without power. People who live near downtown are also picking up the pieces from last night's storms. Neighbors reported portable pools flying over their homes. Winds were so strong that even trees, like this 100-year-old pecan, was blown over. I talked to Sallisaw's fire chief today. He described for me the type of hands-on work they're doing to help the community.
Cut limbs out of roads to open roads up and help people cut them off their cars and houses. There's considerable damage to the trees and houses in the area.
Chief Armstrong tells me the best thing that people can do to prepare for major storms like these is to trim their trees, to stop them from falling down and taking out power lines with them. In Sallisaw, covering news where you live, I'm Bo Russell, 5 News.
Most of the debris in the roads has been cleared up, but it will take some time before power is restored to every street sign and damage to larger buildings is repaired. Here's another look at video showing the moment these storms hit. The director of the operations at Northeastern Health System, that's the Sallisaw Hospital, says all the damage happened in a period of about 15 seconds. Now, despite damage covering nearly half of the hospital, crews worked through the night that night and had their ER, medical labs, and X-ray areas back open quickly.
It was a lot of work last night, very little sleep last night, but we have a great team. Just all the community support and all the outreach of all the outlying areas. We've had people all over the state call, all senators, representatives stopped by last night. Just thanks for all the community support.
Northeast Health System says many patients did have to be transferred to nearby facilities because of the damage to the building. Washington County's new Emergency Operations Center now up and running. 5 News reporter Claire Everbach shows us the grand opening celebration from Wednesday, shares how the facility is designed to strengthen disaster response.
Washington County's brand new Emergency Operations Center is a place for coordination, training, and collaboration in times of crisis.
We'll have training facilities, our operations room where we can work with our partners, other elected officials, government officials, volunteer organizations, just everybody involved in major emergency or disaster response.
Inside, there are advanced meeting spaces, a fully equipped operations room, and short-term living quarters for emergency situations. Director of Emergency Management John Luther says the building allows real-time sharing of local, state, and federal information. Washington County Judge Patrick Deakins says this project took years of planning, and he's glad to finally see it in action.
The county level is uniquely positioned for the emergency management. We support all of our municipalities, and so this building stands now as a very firm physical representation of what we've served with for a long, long time.
Deakins says the facility will not only serve as a command center, but as a place for first responders to train together and strengthen community safety.
A lot of our county is supported by rural volunteer firemen and women, and what they can do is now come here, train, exchange information, and serve us better. This is a tool that they deserve, and I'm proud to bring it to them.
The facility also features state-of-the-art technology, ensuring uninterrupted operations.
This building will stand and have redundancies to have the technology available. This building will have those types of things where we can monitor situations and make sure we're most efficiently allocating those emergency resources if they're needed. That's what this building stands for, and we're really excited about it.
Federal government less than a week now from a shutdown if a spending package is not agreed upon. If the government does shut down on October 1st, how will it be impacted? Spoke with Arkansas Representative Steve Womack, who says the effects wouldn't be felt immediately, but they could be severe.
The initial impact of a shutdown won't immediately be felt by people. But the longer they persist, more than just a couple of days, the more dire things become.
Right now, Representative Womack says a shutdown is looking more likely to happen than not.
The recipe for a government shutdown is exactly what you're looking at today.
Throughout the week, Democratic lawmakers have been calling out the Trump administration, saying it's the president's fault a spending deal has not yet been reached.
It's plain and simple. By refusing to even sit down with Democrats, Donald Trump is causing the shutdown. This is a Trump shutdown.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats are holding out until spending issues on matters like health care are addressed.
The Affordable Care Act is under assault. At least 20 million Americans are going to experience dramatically increased health care premiums, copays, and deductibles.
Here in Arkansas, Republican Senator Tom Cotton sent me a statement saying in part, Democrats would rather fund health care for illegal immigrants than work with the president. Representative Womack says at the end of the day, parties have to come together and fast.
I'm in favor of us working out these differences now and not kicking the can down the road, punting into another month or two.
Making matters more complicated, the White House Budget Office sent out a memo Thursday telling federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs in the event of a shutdown. Representative Womack says he wants to support the president, but he's concerned.
To basically threaten the federal workforce that you may be out of a job, that provides a serious impact. Rely on these people for air safety and for food inspections and national security and just the entire gamut of things that the federal government's responsible for.
The congressman tells me should the shutdown last more than a few days, people receiving aid from the federal government will start to feel the shutdown's effects. Representative Womack says Congress should do its best to stop that from happening.
Sign me up as a person that believes we ought to work out our differences and get this thing across the finish line in a bipartisan way and save America from the drama and the potential horrific consequences of a government shutdown.
That was Bo Russell reporting. Now, if members of Congress cannot reach an agreement by Tuesday, the federal government will shut down on Wednesday. Well, it is finally over. After months of back and forth, there is a new agreement that separates the city of Highville and the Northwest Arkansas National Airport. 5 News reporter Laura Castleman went into a specially called meeting on Wednesday night.
That's right, Darren. Tonight, the City Council approved a formal order that will detach certain properties from the city.
Yes. Allen?
Yes.
Ireland?
The agreement allows Highville to still pay off its water and sewer bonds while also allowing the airport to move forward.
We're going to pay these bonds off in the next 5 years, where normally they'd be paid off 2047.
Highville Mayor Chris Holland says this agreement allows Highville to continue collecting a 2% sales tax from the airport, but only until a certain date.
By 2030, December of 31st of 2030, the airport will be done paying taxes.
Northwest Arkansas Regional Airport CEO Aaron Burks sent 5 News this statement. This final agreement marks a meaningful step forward for Northwest Arkansas. We found a solution that respects the interests of all parties and strengthens our region's future. We're grateful for the collaboration that made this possible and excited to keep building momentum for the entire region. Mayor Holland says this deal will also allow the city to make its own choices.
It gives us stability. It lets us make our own decisions. It allows us to, as long as the city, the council, and myself, if we make the budget correctly for the next 5 years, the city will be able to survive all this.
Mayor Holland says he's relieved this is all over.
The airport can go on to their business, don't have to worry about going to court or going to legislative sessions, and in return, Highville can do the same thing. You know, it took up a lot of our time, my time, the council's time, lawyers' time, to battle this. So it's good that it's over with now, for not only for City Highville, but also for the airport. There's still a future, and the city knows there's a future, and the city can start making plans, whether water, sewer upgrades, road upgrades, so we just don't have this cloud hanging over us no more.
Mayor Holland also told me he is really happy for the residents of his town and how they can officially move forward. Laura Castleman, 5 News.
Meanwhile, at the Clinton National Airport in Little Rock, executive director has resigned. Stephen Baker had been on paid leave since this month amid a dispute over changes to his employment contract. Baker took the job last year after former director Brian Malinowski died in a federal raid at his home amid an investigation of his alleged private gun sales. CFO David Tipton will serve as interim director. An historic meeting this week as the Benton and Washington County Quorum Courts met jointly to talk about rapid growth across Northwest Arkansas. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer shows us what leaders are saying about how to prepare for the future.
It's the first time these two quorum courts have come together, and both county judges say it's because of this growth isn't slowing down anytime soon. Tonight, members listened to a study called Growing Home, which lays out everything the region needs to do to keep up with the projected 1 million people by 2050. The report is built on in-depth interviews with community stakeholders. Leaders say it's about making sure rapid growth doesn't come at the expense of affordability, infrastructure, or the region's small-town character. Challenges include housing costs, pushing families out of reach, heavy traffic and limited transportation options, and uneven infrastructure in fast-growing areas. Tonight, members of both quorum courts called for smaller land use planning, better coordination between local governments, and more support for smaller cities. Benton County Judge Barry Mooring says the two counties have a relationship, but more collaboration will be needed. He hopes this study will serve as a roadmap.
Not just that, yes, we need better streets and we need more sewers and we need more, water and all of those things, but it really kind of revealed how a stepping stone on how to get there. What does density look like? Where do we need to think about density? How do we need to think about our rural areas? How do we even need to think about zoning in the future?
Next, leaders will take feedback from tonight's meeting to the Northwest Arkansas Council meeting in April. And leaders say success will require collaboration from both counties and cities across the region. In Springdale, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Now, while that meeting was going on, students at the U of A led a discussion on what they're calling a shortage of student housing. The group 0 Hour Arkansas put on a town hall focusing on affordable housing, housing options, and even transportation getting to and from campus. One of the organizers says the biggest problem most students agree with is there's not enough room to take on the amount of students coming to town.
Overcrowding is the main issue here at the university. With the record enrollment that we had this year, we have 34,000 students going here now, and from the infrastructure that they have, that can only support 30,000 students.
The group says it is starting a petition to get the university to declare a student housing crisis in an effort to come up with some solutions. Arvest Bank released its Skyline report on commercial property last week for the first half of this year. The report shows the overall vacancy rate for leasable commercial space in Northwest Arkansas rose to just over 7%. Now that's the highest level in the second half since the second half of 2021. Warehouse submarket led the way for rate increases. Office and retail followed after. Despite the uptick, local financial experts say they remain confident in the area's commercial real estate market.
I think the data is showing us that there is a healthy balance between supply and demand here in Northwest Arkansas. So while you may see some vacant storefronts or you may see some new commercial space, I think what the data is telling us is there's certainly the demand here for what's being built.
A Skyline report on residential and multifamily real estate is expected to be released by the end of next month. Continuing coverage of the agriculture crisis Arkansas farmers say they are facing. Rising costs and a struggling market have left many in dire need of support, reaching out for any lifeline that they can find. Maya Ellison digs deeper into what's causing this incoming crisis and what's being done to fix it.
Beyond ripple, we're beyond crisis, we're to tsunami.
Row crop farmers across Arkansas are sounding the alarm, pushing for help before it's too late.
We're looking at 1 to 3 farms. 1 out of every 3 farms going out of business right now.
Representative and farmer herself, Daren Bobb, explains the message her and other agriculture leaders discussed during Tuesday's public meeting in Stuttgart. They say it's a tough situation for farms, many of which have been around for decades.
The heartache of having to decide if I can carry on with the 5th generation farm or the 4th generation farm, and knowing that it lands on me if I don't move forward. That is a lot for a farmer to carry on their shoulders.
Now, despite a recent report from the U of A Systems Division of Agriculture showing net farm income expected to rise 22% this year, experts like Jeremy Ross say the math on the ground tells a different story.
At $10 and you harvest a 55 bushel crop, that's $550, and it costs you $580 to put that in, then you're $30 in the hole.
Meaning many farmers are operating at a loss with debts that carry over year to year.
The truth is, it doesn't really matter what you grow. You are projected to lose money on an acre, really no matter what you've planted on it.
Brandy Carroll with the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation says inflation, tariffs, and global conflicts have all driven up costs, while crop prices remain depressed. And while experts say the Big Beautiful Bill Act will provide $66 billion in new farm investment starting in 2026, Carroll says by then it's too late.
And so they're facing a really hard choice right now, how to keep their families on their farm and how to maintain their way of life. And so there will be a lot of people making really hard choices.
Was Maya Ellison reporting now. Last week, Arkansas Senator John Bozeman said he and other local lawmakers said they are hopeful that some kind of funding can be agreed upon as Congress tries to avoid a government shutdown. Meanwhile, in Faulkner County, Mayflower is becoming the second city in the state to adopt the Firefighters' Bill of Rights. This comes after a bill was passed by state lawmakers this year to give guidelines to managing firehouses. It's just a recommendation, and cities can choose whether to adopt it. Mayor Flowers' fire marshal says they were inspired by the first city to do this last month.
Saw what Fayetteville was able to accomplish, and granted, we're nowhere near the size of Fayetteville, but the same protections are just as important to them as they are to us.
Fayetteville passed a Bill of Rights ordinance on August 19th. The bill contains protections for firefighters undergoing disciplinary hearings, as well as being able to express political views off the clock. Fort Smith Fire Department, meanwhile, raising funds for a new memorial honoring firefighters who gave their lives in service. The memorial will be located at Fire Station 1 downtown and serve as a place of reflection for the entire area. At its center will be a life-size bronze statue surrounded by engraved pavers forming a Maltese cross. Fort Smith Fire Battalion Chief says it's all about cementing the legacy of fallen firefighters.
One thing it's going to do is our goal of never letting those who died in line of duty be forgotten. That's something that's important because they were before us. They got us to where we are now, and we need to cement their names and a legacy so that we can remember them.
All donations, by the way, will go directly to the Fort Smith Firefighters Foundation and be fully dedicated to completing that memorial. The Christmas Honors Program in Fort Smith sharing information for volunteers who want to get involved this year. The annual event honors the men and women buried at the Fort Smith National Cemetery by placing a wreath on each of the more than 16,000 headstones. Wreath Assembly Workshop will be happening Friday, December 5th. With the laying of the wreaths happening the following day on December 6th. Cleanup, by the way, is January 7th and 8th. The Samaritan Community Center celebrating its new Springdale location that now has a cafe. First meals were served on Tuesday at 1520 West Huntsville Avenue. The Director of Program Operations says they'll still have their market where people can shop for their own groceries on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Community resource navigators will also be on site helping connect people with essential needs.
Everyone is welcome. We don't check identification. We don't do financial assessments. People are welcome to come and pick up groceries one time per calendar month.
Lunch is served Tuesday through Thursday from 10 to 1. Plans are now underway to bring the counseling office, by the way, to this location next year. Monday at the White House, President Trump announced a new health warning about the potential link between Tylenol and autism. The president says that pregnant women are now being urged to avoid taking acetaminophen, also known by the brand name of Tylenol. The president says the Food and Drug Administration will begin notifying doctors with new directions about the over-the-counter medication used to treat headaches and fevers.
All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally you don't take it at all, but if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it.
According to the CDC, autism currently affects 1 in 31 U.S. children. President Trump's comments raising a lot of questions. Arkansas health experts are responding, saying what science shows and what parents need to know. Maya Ellison has reaction now from across the state.
On Monday, President Donald Trump addressed claims about a link between autism and the use of acetaminophen, like Tylenol, during pregnancy. We at THV11 took these claims to the experts.
The thing I know is that there is no connection between any pain medication and autism.
That's Dr. Sabine Falls, a clinical psychologist at Pediatrics Plus. For 30 years, she's assessed autism and explains that there's no single known cause. How do you typically answer a parent who says, what is the cause for my child's autism? What would you say?
In general, we really don't know. So we know with autism that there are certain factors that increase the likelihood, one of which being that it runs in families.
According to the Center for Disease Control, autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a developmental disability. And in 2022, a study showed autism was identified in about 3% of 8-year-olds in Arkansas.
So some children are more severely autistic and some children are mild. And so that's why we talk about a spectrum. It's not like a box where you are either in or not.
Parents like Nicole Patterson understand that variety. Her 5-year-old son was diagnosed with autism. She says he shows different signs than other children.
He wasn't talking as much as he should. And he does this thing, like a sensory thing. He'll walk on his tiptoes. There's not, just a broadline book for us to read. And, all of them are different. All the kids are different.
Patterson says doctors prescribe other medications during her pregnancies, not Tylenol. But she admits reports of a link still make her worried.
I've never believed that it was caused by vaccines or medications. No, it kind of makes me feel like I'm being blamed a little bit. Like, okay, well, you took this while you were pregnant. And so now this is the cause of it. This is what happened. And but that's what I was told to take.
It was Maya Ellison reporting. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announcing more changes to the SNAP program this week, a move that could cause millions who use food stamps to lose access. Wednesday's announcement updates the kinds of food stores are required to stock on shelves, with a focus on healthier products, cutting back on junk food options. Other upcoming changes like more strict work requirements and changes to how SNAP benefits are calculated. All coming from that massive spending bill Congress passed this summer. The USDA also claims the tighter rules should help cut down on people's benefits getting stolen. In about a week, major changes to child care funding in Arkansas will also go into effect. In the past, the state reimbursed child care centers based on a system that rated them from levels 1 through 6, but last week, the Arkansas Department of Ed announced all child care centers were going to be paid the same amount. Those rated levels 3 through 6 say it'll be a big reduction.
You increase your staff's pay, and you buy all the extra toys, and you have 150 blocks, and you do all the things that they want you to do to get the raise. You give them the raise, and now they're taking the raise back.
The state says the one level of pay will keep prices consistent. Thanks for watching the 5 News Plus Weekend Wrap. And while you're here on 5 News Plus, you can check out our latest newscast and weather impact forecast on demand, along with other original content from the 5 News team. I'm Daren Bobb. Have a great weekend.